Oh, you've made an appointment this week. Beautiful, beautiful. Please, come in, come in. Take a seat. Okay, so tell me about your week. Yes, yes, I see. Okay, okay. Now I just want to ask, what does this color make you feel? Alright, after gathering all the information, I can conclude that you is one crazy mother... Hi everyone, I'm Ward and welcome to my channel Wardrawsalot, and today we're going to be talking about the psychology of the color red. Eventually, I want to work my way down as many colors as I possibly can, and I thought the best way to start it off was with the color red. Now, I do want to preface this video with the fact that colors are represented differently in different cultures. So although I'm using a website for a lot of reference here, which is colorpsychology.org, it also has to be stated that a lot of people interpret red differently because of their backgrounds. So maybe not everything I say might be in alignment, there we go, with, with different cultures and people and how they ultimately take in different colors, especially in this video, which is red. Now with that being said, let's kind of take a little dive into the color. Red is one of those colors that stands out amongst the crowd, at least in my opinion. It's really strong, bold, and definitely has its own character to it. It is a color that can invoke emotional and physical stimulus, which I find really interesting. Not only do we connect emotions with certain colors, but even seeing certain colors can make you physically have a reaction, such as people seeing the color red actually makes their heartbeats faster. The color red is connected to a lot of different concepts, and I'm going to walk you through some to kind of show you what I mean. I'm going to put this first little section into the love category, right? So these concepts include love, passion, attraction, energy, and attention, all of which have some kind of romance to a degree. Love itself is very much connected to passion, which was in the category itself, has notes of sexuality, romance, like I said, and lust. So love is very much connected to the color red. Think of Valentine's Day and how it's very red and pink oriented. Pink is kind of just a family color of red. So all of the gifts and presents and even chocolates wrapped around are with red bows. So it's very much connected to the idea of love, which in turn means that it's connected to passion, because when you have passion for something, it's usually for something that you love, which means that you're going to put forth your best foot forward and kind of push that emotion into it as much as you can. So passion is also connected to the color red as a direct result of being connected to love. We also have the idea of attraction, right? And attraction very much is connected to romance, sexuality, all these things that also connect back to the color red, especially when we think of notes like I said earlier, Valentine's Day and how that's red and all about romance. If we are attracted to somebody and we think of being romantic with them, it kind of puts our brain back in that red headspace. It's also connected to the idea of energy. When you're energized and you feel lively, a lot of the time people connect back to the color red. And almost makes me think of something much more primal in that degree, right? Like the way blood flows through your system, and when you're active, your blood is flowing much more through your body, which in turn means that you're basically moving red inside of you. So I guess that's how I look at it and interpret it in that way, which I don't know if that's necessarily how it is. But whenever I think of energy personally, I think of the color yellow. So it's strange that the color red is connected to energy. That's actually pretty interesting. We also have attention in this category. So red a lot of the time brings up the attention of people, whether they're wearing red or they're trying to bring up a point about something and they're putting like a red tag on it. It also can be a sign of warning, like a red flag in a person. So the attention aspect is also very interesting, and I kind of connect it back to love because usually attention is what you would give a person that you're passionate about. So again, all of that just kind of wraps back up around to red. The second little section that I'm going to put this into is the power section. So we have power, confidence, dominance, persuasion, performance, and impulse control. We'll start off with power. Usually power is associated with the color red. Because it's such a bold color, it almost calls attention from people to whoever's wearing that color, ultimately making it an attractive color, which almost kind of gives you the power to almost speak up or stand out and do things that maybe you wouldn't normally do. In other words, making you more confident. A lot of the time, wearing red brings out the confidence and power in people because it is such a bold statement and such a strong color that when somebody wears it, they kind of feel that energy kind of with them as well. From power and confidence comes dominance. It almost kind of demands respect from people. So that kind of demand and dominance comes from the color red as well, because it's such a bold and harsh color that a lot of people end up looking at the color red and almost think of like an authority figure. Red also gives off the elements of persuasion. Usually somebody who's wearing red has the opportunity to persuade somebody because they stand out so much within the room. It's also like a call to action or very persuasive messaging, like how we always see something is on sale and it's a red tag. It's kind of calling us toward the sale, to telling us to take action to buy it. When it comes to terms of performance, sometimes it'll really help with detail-oriented tasks, but apparently when it comes to creativity, it can stunt the creativity because red is technically a color of distress and anxiety. So when someone is a creative and they're thinking of the color red, it can very much go downhill, but that's not the case for everybody. For me, for example, I love the color red whenever I am doing something creative. In fact, I use reds and pinks much too often, so I have to kind of think about how to work my way out of it because it makes me comfortable to a degree, right? Red can also have effect on our impulse control. Usually the color red gives off some kind of urgency or doing something right on the spot. So a lot of the time when we have an impulse, we'll act on it instead of thinking of the consequences beforehand. The next category I'm going to talk about is the aggression category. So we have aggression, risk-taking, stress, appetite, impulsiveness, and competitiveness. So with aggression, we definitely have the color red. I guess that's where the saying comes from, I'm seeing red, because it definitely is associated with anger. It makes sense because red is such a bold color that rage is also such a bold emotion that they would connect to each other. That's also where risk-taking comes in, especially when you are aggressive and you want to take the risk to beat somebody up. So that's definitely there, but it's also an idea of thrill or excitement that kind of connects to them as well. It's also the color of stress, usually when someone is overstimulated or they see or are around red for too long, they definitely begin to have some anxiety factors in them, which is kind of why too much exposure to the color isn't as great as it seems. It's also connected to appetite, both physically and psychologically. So the appetite to go forth and do something, or how much strength you have in you to go ahead and do it, versus the appetite of the physical, which is why fast food chains will actually use a lot of red within their advertisements or within their branding. So you can look at their fast food places that are mainly red and want to eat there. It's also connected to impulsiveness, which I said earlier, kind of like impulse control, but with impulsiveness comes instant gratification, which is kind of connected back to like appetite, you could say, where you want that thing to eat and you go in there and you're instantly gratified. Your appetite is satiated. Red also invokes the idea of competitiveness because of the power and dominance that you would have to use in order to compete in something, and taking that risk in order to compete and win as well. So from everything that I listed here, I think that the thing that we can conclude is that red is a very dramatic color, emotionally and physically. We even can associate colors with different types of people or personality types. I know when I've had conversations with even my own friends, we can see that some people give off certain types of colors, and it almost makes sense. So right now I just listed all of those kind of concepts that are connected to red, and their positives and negatives within those concepts. That means that the red personality type is also going to have some of those positive and negative concepts attached to them, just like anybody with any personality type would. For example, some of the positive personality traits that would be connected to a red person would be that they're enthusiastic, confident, passionate, charismatic, they're a natural leader, adventurous, courageous, motivating, vivacious, and driven. Some negative traits that are associated with the red personality type, though, are like impulsive, unapologetic, aggressive, overly competitive, intense, forceful, fiery, demanding, boastful, and confrontational. Yeah, the more I'm kind of reading about the red personality type, the more I'm kind of connecting myself. I think something's going on here. Sometimes different shades of red hold different meanings, which is actually very interesting. Maroon, for example, is often connected to attention and is used at colleges and universities a lot, which kind of makes sense because you have to pay attention in college or university in order to pass. Scarlet, on the other hand, is a very fiery red, so it kind of embodies authority, like kind of like, hey, look at me, and definitely has a strength to the color. Blood red is very primal, in the sense where it's kind of very life or death, and is associated with emotions like rage or aggression, and are very much associated with positive or negative things. However, even though different shades of red might have some kind of different meaning to it, they all kind of connect back to the core concepts that I described earlier, such as attraction, dominance, and aggression. Some fun facts about red include the fact that that's the first color we see. Like when we're babies and we learn how to open our eyes, red is the first color that we're able to actually see. Another fun fact that I stated earlier is that it can actually stimulate the human heart to go faster, so that's actually kind of crazy that looking at a color elicits the reaction to where your heart can beat faster. Even though red calls for attention and it's a very powerful color, it is not the world's favorite color. I went to look it up out of curiosity, and apparently blue is the world's favorite color, with almost 40% of people preferring blue over any other color. Another fact that I found actually a little crazy until I sat down and thought about it for a second was that men are perceived more attractive in the color red than women are. And I sat down to think about it because I was like, red is such a beautiful color on women especially. Why is it that it's like not as attractive on women as it is men? And that's because red on women is perceived to be very salacious, very sexual, very whorish, to put it in the sense, right? Like that's the color they associate it with a woman who's very in her sexuality, right? So a lot of people actually don't like the color red on women because of the factor that they think that it's very distasteful and not elegant, which is stupid. In my opinion, that's dumb. I love red lipstick, I love wearing the color red, I love doing all that, so I think that it's dumb that men are considered more attractive in the color compared to women just for the sole fact of, let's be real here, just sexism. I'm guessing, though, that it's more attractive in men as well because it elicits power, right? So when a man wears it, it's very powerful, commands authority, it demands the attention of the room, all that stuff. So when a man wears red, they're more likely to kind of get that attractive attention in comparison to a woman. In part, that is why I did a character who's a male in red, mostly because I wanted to try and get a character that looked powerful. I was originally going to go with the idea of making a character that's very like love based, right? Because we had that whole section of love, but I realized that realistically I do that pretty often. So I wanted to try and play around with how much I could kind of show a powerful character right here. So he kind of gives off the vibe of power, dominance, confidence, like persuasion, performance. Like he's a very structured kind of guy when I look at him, and I showed him to a friend and they did agree that he's definitely giving off that energy. So I thought that it would be cool that I take the different route. But once I sat down and thought of the whole like girl versus guy like attractive red thing, I wanted to draw a girl in red immediately because I was like, dude, that sucks that there's even that perception of everything. But realistically, that's just the fact of it all, and regardless, I think the color looks good on everybody of every skin tone, of any gender, of whatever. So that's just my personal opinion. Of course, to top it all off, I went ahead and gave the background color a solid red, and I was lucky enough that the red color that I chose was, I feel like, a very, I guess, spot on red, because I didn't want to go too dark and I didn't want to go too light. I just wanted the perfect red that I could find, and I ended up using this Artex paint marker, which came in clutch. And I usually don't fill in an entire background behind the character because I just don't, but I really wanted to give off that energy that he was the red guy or the red personality type. So I really like the outcome of it all. I'm actually very glad this video idea kind of came across my mind, and it happened because I was kind of pissed off at something, and then I thought of the saying, like, I'm seeing red, and then I kind of stopped for a second and was like, how does that even work? Like, like, what is the psychology behind seeing that kind of color, or any color in general. So that's when I did my research, and then I kind of came across this idea, and I was like, you know what, this is kind of cool to work off of. So I was very happy and interested to do it, I'm not gonna lie. Red is indeed one of those colors that just stands out no matter what. I think whether in a positive or negative manner, it's in your face, it's bold, and it's definitely unapologetic. As for the drawing, here's the final result of our red personality type guy. I love that I put him in a red suit with a black undershirt, and even his hair has red undertones to it. I think it works really nicely all together. Let me know if you think that I definitely captured the power within him, because I'm definitely feeling it from him. But also let me know what kind of color you'd like to see next, because I'm kind of deciding back and forth as to what to do. So yeah, thanks for watching, and remember, I love you. Bye!